Hello, my name is Paxton. Welcome to my art corner. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my corset project, which I have just started this week. I want to go through some of the things I've done. I've got a lot of little videos here and there that I've taken to try and keep my progress recorded. So I just want to go through and start with the basics. Why did I do this project? What I think I'm going to get out of it, all that fun stuff. It's just the start. I have only been doing research, so I can't show anything physical and be like, look at this thing I made.
So today is my first day of sitting down and actually putting all the information I have gathered and learned and figured out over the year and a half that I've been looking into historical fashion, starting to write these things down and make notes about what I need, what I should get, things to think about. Currently, what I've been looking at today is what materials do I need. I'm going to make a cost sheet so that I get an idea of how much this is going to cost me. I've started looking at corset patterns. I'm using the Symington corset collection. They have a little over 100 different corset patterns, and there are a wide range of ones that are very simple and very complex. So I'm going through and I'm trying to find one that looks like something I would be happy with wearing and believe I can actually make. So I think I've found the pattern that I want to use, which I'm very excited about. I don't know why it called to me. I'm not sure what it is about this one exactly, but it's an 1892 pattern, so it's kind of close to the era I'm looking at. It looks simpler than a lot of the ones that I've seen on here. Okay, so it's about 2-3 days since I last filmed any updates about my project. Currently I'm just doing research on making corsets, the history of corsets, everything like that, just so that I really know what I'm getting into. And while I was looking at a lot of these Symington patterns, I kept noticing this one thing that I kind of just ended up blowing off as something I wasn't going to be able to figure out. There were a lot of random stamped numbers on the edges of the corset patterns, and I didn't really get what they meant because sometimes there would be multiple. I thought at first it was maybe it's the width of something, but it didn't make sense. No explanation I could find I could make really made sense until recently I found a Pinterest board of this person who takes Symington patterns, digitizes them, and makes them more easy to understand. And in one of the patterns, at the top, it says, "Note, single numerals and symbols indicate flossing to be used at that location, using example indicated by that letter." So what I found on a lot of the old Symington patterns is that it would have something like A6 next to one of the patterns, and then it would have sixes across the rest of the pattern, and that actually indicates flossing numbers, which I just found really intriguing. It's just something very small, a very small detail you don't usually understand, you don't really recognize, but they thought out so much of this corset work and really made it available for people to use in the future. So I thought that was a very interesting detail I found today.
I'm very excited to see where I go with this pattern. I can already see a little bit of it in my head. But let's look into a little bit of how is this project going to work for me? What am I gonna need? What have I done so far? So I've spent this week doing research. I've watched every single video I could find that I've watched in the past, that I'm going to watch again, and figured out what I really need to do for this project. What are the supplies I need? What is the time frame going to look like? What other things have I forgotten about that I need to keep in mind for the project? One of the things I do really want to make sure I figure out is whether I'm going to take this pattern and just recreate it as it is, or am I going to modify it for myself? Kathy Hay, the founder and CEO of Foundations Revealed, has a wonderful little tutorial on how to take a antique corset pattern and create a corset that is made for you. I might consider doing both and seeing which one seems to work better for me. If I want to go the route of keeping the original, I think that's going to be a better reconstruction project, figuring out exactly how those corsets were made back then and how people would have worn them. Because at this point, it is 1890, and it is a time when the Industrial Revolution has started taking place. People are creating things more en masse than ever before. Women back then had ideal ratios. What you would do is you would take your largest bust, hip, or waist size, and from there you would pad out anything else. So for example, if your hips were the largest in the ratio, what you would do is you would make a corset to your hip size, and then you would pad out the rest of your figure in order to create that shape. I have a feeling with this corset pattern, my waist is going to be the correct size, but my hips and my bust are probably going to be too small. Do I want to pad out my body in order to get that ideal shape from the 1890s? Or do I want to create a pattern that fits me perfectly to my size, to my bust size, to my hip size? The second thing I have to figure out is whether or not I want to make this a single layer corset. Watching videos, I have found that many times when there is cording involved in a pattern, as there is with mine, typically it is a 2-layer corset. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with this. I might look into how it is possible to do a single layer corset with cording. I don't know if that's out there, if it is possible, but we'll find out. Another thing I want to do is flossing. Flossing is a technique that was used very often in the 1890s as decoration. However, it still has a purpose, as many things did back then. Even though they looked really nice, there was a reason for it. What flossing is it is embroidery at the tops and bottoms of boning channels in order to keep the boning in place so that it doesn't poke out over time or rub away at the fabric and come undone. I want to do this because it is very pretty, but it is also applicable to the time period. And I think it'll be fun to mess around with my own flossing pattern and figure out what would work best for my corset. So currently, that is my plan. That is the research I have done this week. Those are the things I'm going to do. Next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out this pattern that I have found, Symington pattern number 23280, and I'm going to begin constructing it just out of paper. I'm going to take the pieces, tape them together, see how they just fit, how they work as a full shape, and then move on from there as I wait for my shipments of boning and twill tape to come in. That's all I really need to start. After I figure out my pattern, I'm going to also buy a busk, which is the frontal closure that they used back then. And then from there, I can get started.